written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silverline Silver Sunday on this Sunday, March 21st. We welcome you as we're going to talk about some groundbreaking and earth-shattering stuff. How do I know that? Because it's Silver Sunday, and we always do. So we're going to have some fun here. I'm going to get some business taken care of. Then we're going to introduce everybody. I want to shout out to Daytona Beach Comic Con for being a sponsor of us. Daytona Beach Comic Con happens yearly in Daytona Beach. The dates this year are September 18th and 19th. Mark it on your calendar. Plan to be there. Silverline is going to be there. Lots of other comic book guests and other cool guests. Probably some wrestlers, because John Crowther is going to be there, probably, who did Team Beetle, and John's always got wrestlers with him. I don't know who they are, and I know if John heard me saying that, he'd probably smack me upside the head, but I'm sure they're going to be important wrestlers. Daytona Beach Comic Con, make your plans now. And so we thank you to Daytona Beach Comic Con. We have got a Kickstarter going. It is live as of right now, and it's going to be live for another 7 days. It's going to end 1 week from today, next Sunday. I think it's actually even going to end while we're live. At least that's what I tried to make it do. I'm not sure if I was able to do it, because I tried to do that with the last one, but I missed it somehow, and I don't know how I did that. But get on over there. We've got the video. Brett's gonna play the video here in just a second, so you can see what the stories are all about. But so now we are chasing stretch goals. Wait a minute, I do have it up on my screen. I'm afraid to open. I'm still using the old computer, so I'm afraid to open too much, because right now I'm getting no lag and everything is hunky dory. So we stand at 2704. So that means we are about $300 away from our first stretch goal. What is that first stretch goal, you ask? That first stretch goal is a novel called it's an R.A. Jones novel.
It's called. Is
no,
that the name?
it's like dadgummit.
Yeah, cerebral flatulence.
The road. I was gonna say the road less traveled, but it's actually the road twice traveled. It's kind of a second go around, a do-over kind of story from R.A. Jones. It is a novel. It's going to be a digital novel, and it has artwork by his Twilight Grimm collaborator, Rob Davis. This stretch goal, if we can get to $3,000, is for everybody, whether you pledged digital or whether you pledged physical. You're going to get this when we reach $3,000. And we're still working on trying to figure out what we're going to do. I say trying to figure out, solidifying what we're going to do once we hit 3,500 and 4,000 as our stretch goals. So I guess let's introduce everybody, and then we'll play the video, and then.
Oh.
Yeah.
The video?
Just for the Kickstarter. So, so I'm Roland. I am the chief cook and bottle washer, and I write Cat and Mouse. I write Trumps, which I think Pete's going to be working on a little bit tonight. Yeah. So it ended up
trying. Yeah.
I like how Pete's like, yeah.
What's Pete working on tonight?
Gonna give it a go.
We thanks to Thomas Flormonte, who may or may not join us tonight. We ended up with a pretty cool idea to finish out Trump. So we'll talk about that later. Let's get introductions done. So that's that. I'm gonna, before I forget him, Brett is behind the scenes. You can't see him on your screen, but he comes up as the unpaid producer on our screen. And he is behind the scenes, turning the knobs, pushing the buttons, and making sure you see the videos and all that kind of stuff. So, and he will occasionally talk in our ears. So if you see me sometimes stop and go, I'm listening to Brett, probably as he's trying to feed me some kind of false information. Brett is kind of like fake news sometimes. So there's that. So next on my murderer's row, I'm going to go around the clock. I'm going around my clock, Aaron, and not yours. Just I want to clarify that. So next on my clock is Aaron. Aaron, tell everybody who you are.
I am Aaron. I'm more than just a penciler. I'm the penciler. No, I pencil Fire Rush, which is kickstarting right now, and I have another project upcoming for Silverline that I'm really excited about that I'm working on also. And I also do my own comic, Godlings, which I am finishing up this year, and I'm actually working on the cover now.
What?
You.
Woo-hoo.
Are we going to see it?
If you guys want, I mean,
yeah,
I'm just coloring it.
Because otherwise I've got to show mine, and mine's not much to show.
I mean, if you guys, I can share my screen if you just want to watch it.
Yeah, share your screen. Hurry up.
Yeah, well, yeah. You can work on
Okay.
it while we talk, right, tonight?
Yeah, just go with it.
Yeah. Good. You
Okay.
share your screen for the first hour because I think
Hey.
Roberta said she's gonna show up late and she can then share the last half.
Okay. Yeah. Here,
Hey, Aaron, did you see Falcon and Winter Soldier this week?
No, I watched Justice League instead.
Oh, did you?
Did you watch?
You
Wait,
paid for that?
let's finish introductions before we
Oh,
go.
yeah,
Yeah. I know.
Oh, because I was just gonna say, what, another dark and gloomy DC movie?
Whoa,
It was dark and gloomy. It was so dark the screen was just blocked for 4 hours. It was impressive.
Okay, so now that we're screen sharing, my clock has shifted. My murderer's row.
Yeah, everything's changed.
So up next then is going to be John, the Viking Prince Voltan. John, tell everybody who you are.
I'm John Martin. I am the inker for Fire Rush, which is kickstarting right now, and I'm also the inker on Wolf Hunter, as well as do whatever else Roland needs me to do. I guess whether it's a cover or to
And I think
not cuss or something like that. So.
John, you need some kind of reward. You have done incredibly well this whole year, right? During our streams.
He has.
I'd give you a huge
Yeah, I was
pat on
told
the
to
back.
behave, and everybody else is like, and every time you hear me turn around and go, and you told me to behave.
Well, so far Barb's the only one that's got his band.
Yes.
So proud of herself. Look at that.
I know. I have a reputation to maintain.
That's right. And I'm trying to find. And I've been poking around on the Kickstarter here, trying to find out. There's not really any, since the add-ons are there, and I'll talk about this in a minute. There's not a real easy way to find out what's gone and what's not. But I think John's cover might still be available, and I'm going to try to find that out as we go along. But thank you, John.
Peter's in my cover still.
I'm going to try to see that too. Next up on Murderer's Row here is Peter Clinton. Pete, tell everybody who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm a penciler. I pencil Silverline Team Up Champion Miss Fury. Oh, that's on hold at the moment, as I'm currently penciling Trump's issue 4. I wish I could show you more of Trump's issue 4, but I've literally just started. So there's not a lot to look at. But here's Trump's, and that's what because I'm trying to find what the characters look like, and
I did send you a PDF, right? That had all the characters in it.
Oh yes, that's right.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
I forgot about that. Right,
it's not in any kind of organized. I don't think I may have sent you the. So I organized one PDF, and there's one that's completely unorganized. I think I sent you the completely unorganized one. If I can think about it,
characters 1, 2, 3.
Shame.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll explain, Alex, because people are probably going, wait, Pete's drawing an issue of Trump's? Wait, what's I'll explain that in just a minute. Let's get around the clock here.
Ace of Spades, yeah.
All right, last but not least is Barb. Barb, tell everybody who you are.
Oh, look at the King of Spades. He's all right, isn't he?
My name's Barb Kelberg, inker since 1989. And I am the CFO of Silverline. I am the inker for Cat and Mouse. And I'm getting ready to start inking issue number 4. I am the colorist for Sirens, which is what I'm working on now. And I am the creator, the co-writer, the inker, and the colorist for my award-winning book, Divinity.
Wow.
Right. Nice. And that is the crew, y'all. So we are going to have a fun discussion tonight. As always, whatever we say, it doesn't matter. Pete will be right. So it will be fun. It will be fun discussing anyway.
Seems to be that way.
The lies. The lies.
So Brett, have you got the Kickstarter video queued up? Can you play that? All right, play it. This is the video for the Kickstarter. For those of you who haven't pledged, for those of you who have pledged, I beg your patience for about 2.5 minutes. But for those of you who haven't, pay attention.
Look at that. There she is.
Go,
easy.
Brett.
Hi, I'm Roland, and I'm the chief cook and bottle washer at Silverline Comics, the genre-spanning independent comic and graphic novel publisher. And I'm here to tell you about our newest double feature. 1, 2. Yes, that means you get 2 sweet new comics. But before I give you more details, I have to let you know, particularly in this day of unfulfilled comic crowdfunders, that Silverline is 9 for 9 fulfilling our Kickstarters on time. That's right, on time. Much of the reason for that success is because our comics are finished. They're completely done. We might have a correction here or there, or we might need to finish coloring a cover, but the interiors are 100% done. We just need you to help us get the funds to print and ship. But come on, let me tell you about the comics now.
Twilight Grim is set in the city of Hallowed Heights, a town divided by a great wall. On one side of the wall live the upper and middle class humans. On the other side of the wall, called the Blood Zone, live the lower class humans and vampires. There are no laws protecting the humans who live in the Blood Zone. The only thing protecting them from death at the hands of vampires is the mysterious and violent young man named Twilight Grim. But the treaty which created the wall may soon be broken, and the city may fall into an all-out war between vampires and humans. Friar Rush is the story of a 15th century trickster demon of the same name, trapped in the modern world of New Orleans. He is devoted to corrupting men and women of the cloth and plans to devastate the masses by manipulating a corrupt televangelist. But reporter Jake McGlover and the cursed nun Seraph race against the clock and a rock concert to avert his plans.
Cool, huh? Yeah, we think so. And we're excited to get these into your hands. Frequent backers are familiar with our crowd-funded double features. We've done several of them. They come in the form of a classic flip book. You read one side, you flip it over, and you read the other, all in one. You'll also note some changes with Kickstarter itself. We think they're good changes, but if you've been with us a while, it'll take you a minute to figure it out. All of the original art and the variant covers are now simply add-ons, and they're not tiers of their own. It's good because it doesn't clog up the main page with all those individual art tiers. But it's also good because if you want more than one original art page, it's very easy to click, I want that page, and that page, and that page. It's different, but we'll think it'll be better in the end. So, give it a look, back it if you can, share it if you will. Thank you for your time, and remember, make mine Silverline.
Okay, very cool. So thank you, Roland. We appreciate you telling us all about the Kickstarter. So,
Hold on, wait, did he just thank himself?
Yes,
The hell?
he talks in the third person,
so
in the first person.
So I do want to talk about. We were talking a little bit about this as you were listening to me talk about the Kickstarter. So we talked about this a little bit. So Kickstarter has changed, and overall, I think it's for the good. But you'll notice, those of you who've pledged to multiple Kickstarters of ours, you'll notice that we don't have like 100 tiers this time. There's like 5 tiers. And which is what we kind of tried to do to begin with. We tried to build the tiers, but then add on the artwork. But now that we can have add-ons, it's made it a whole lot easier. You go and pick the main thing that you want, and then you can go add on anything that you want to add on, right? Now, I should say, as an asterisk, if you pledged digitally, the only thing you can add on are the issue number 1s digitally. You can't add on anything else because, right, you got a digital thing. You can't add on a physical thing. So that's...
And you can add on anything. I mean, you want world peace? We'll work on it.
That's,
You
yeah.
just add it in there.
That's, yes. I mean, you know, that Silverline will provide that for you. Now, that will cost you a lot of money. That's going to cost you a lot. I mean,
A lot, but
it's world
we
peace
can do it.
after all.
it is.
We can do it.
So, you know.
So, so this piece, whoops, that's not the piece I thought I had. Well, shoot.
Well, shucks.
Hold on. I got to take my ear things out.
Okay, everybody say derogatory things towards
This is
Roland.
the one.
He's not listening.
Okay.
Oh, That didn't happen.
Too late. He's back. He's back. Shh.
Yeah,
Shh, everybody, shut up.
So this is the piece that's still available. And
I'm surprised it is because that's
what
really
is-
cool. I
This
like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Got
cover.
added on.
this
Just,
is
well, it just got added today.
Wow.
Oh, did it? I thought that. I know the cover had been up there.
Yeah.
Was it today or
The
yesterday?
original art was just no, it's yesterday. The
Yeah,
original
yes-
art was just added last night.
Yes, yeah, it went out as an announcement, as an update. So this cover by Pete and Barb is available. This is the original inks. Here's something cool that Barb did on here. If you flip
What?
it over, you can see a blue line of Pete's
Bam.
pencils.
Yeah, the first time I
Clever.
printed it out, I printed the blue too deep, too
Yeah.
dark, and I
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
I won't waste a page, so I'll just
No,
flip
no,
it
no.
over and
Just flip
reprint it
over.
on the other side. So you get
Yeah.
a double whammy there.
It even wrote on there, too dark.
Yep.
so this is still available, and we were talking earlier. I'm surprised this is still available. This is one I thought would actually go pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece. This one's still available. Let's see here. This is the. I'm trying to look at this. This is where it gets a little difficult. This is the Kickstarter cover to Friar Rush 1. This is the Aaron Humphreys cover to Friar Rush #1. This was for the Kickstarter exclusive. This one is available, right? So you can get this one. And especially if you missed the Friar Rush 1 Kickstarter, then you get the artwork.
I thought that was the one for Fire Rush 2.
Am I looking at the wrong one?
Yeah, I've got this for Fire Rush 1.
Dog
This
it.
is my Fire Rush 1.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hell getting old, isn't it, Roland?
You know what? I have shelves for my comics. I need shelves to organize the art. Because I get
Cut
stuff.
files.
Yes. And so, okay. So, there it is. I do have it here.
Oh, look at that.
This is it. Right?
Yeah. That.
Yes.
Well, that
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
Sorry, all of you who ran to look. I was showing you the wrong one. This.
I think because I've just opened that and I found an advert for Trumps and it's got the character I was looking for reference wise. So thanks for that. That's perfect. That's come out. That's worked out. Trumps.
Serendipity.
Hey, good about that.
Additionally, there's a whole bunch of pencil pages from issue 2 by Aaron, right?
mhm.
And these are gorgeous pages, y'all. These are in immaculate shape. These are like stick them in a frame and put it up on the wall, right? So gorgeous looking pages. I think there is a file. This is one of my favorites here.
We'll even send a picture of me in a frame that you can put on the wall. How's that?
Yeah. So all this.
I think we
art
just
is-
lost some backers.
Yeah.
I know, and the feed is cut. Damn it!
They're like, wait, you? No, that's not what I pledged for. So
And you can choose bear skin, tiger skin. Doesn't matter the type of rug. You choose it. It all.
So I also want to note that we do
I
have
think you just
some.
went too far.
So there are some commissions left. Okay, there's still commissions from Aaron and still commissions from Rob. They're probably not going to last too much longer. So you guys, you want Aaron to do a commission for you? You need to jump on that. And if you've already pledged, you're like, man, I've already pledged. Guess what? Here's the beauty. You can go back and you can add that to your pledge. You won't lose out on anything that you've already pledged to. You can just add that to your pledge, and that's the beauty of it. So, and if you've missed a bunch of the other stuff that we've done, then this is your chance to grab a copy. If you missed a copy of Trump's that Pete was holding up there, then this is your chance to grab that. And so before we get on to that topic there that we're going to talk, which I've written down here and I'll post it notes so I don't forget what we're talking about. Let me explain to you why Pete's drawing the book. So Thomas Flormonti had this great idea after. So Thomas Hedgeland did the second part of book 2, and he was slated to do book 3. I'm sorry, the book 1 is what I meant to say. So he was slated to do book 2, but he's a young fella. He's going back to college, and he's working a full-time job. And he's just like, going back to college, working a full-time job, I just don't think I can do it. So so we shook hands and said, all right, we'll go to college, get some smarts, and then come back and draw some. And so that's what he's doing. I don't know what he's studying. And so I talked to Tommy, and he said, well, why don't you do this? He said, you part of what trumps is that you got 4 suits. You got the diamonds, hearts, spades, and clubs. He says, you can find someone to do issue number 3 and find someone to do issue number 4. They could be doing them, at the same time, and maybe get finished about the same time, roughly about the same time. And then, we can have it ready to kickstart. And I'm like, man, that's a really good idea. There's 4 suits, 4 pencilers. Tommy's still going to ink it. And so that's what we're doing. So Pete is doing issue number 4, and Quentin Bedwell is doing issue number 3. So
you done yet, Pete?
Oh yeah, I'm really flying now.
No, so you got character reference now, right?
I got the character I needed. Yeah, this is going to be good because I'll be finished shortly.
But it'll be finished before the show's over, right?
Yeah.
So part of what we're going to this is what's going to be part of the interesting thing. I forgot to look at all the comments here. Part of what we're going to have to do, because Pete is actually chat. Let me get to the chat. So Pete is actually going to come in drawing in issue 4 the second part of the scene that started in issue 3, but that's not drawn yet. So Pete doesn't have any reference for that scene, right? So he's got to. So what we're going to have to do is, once Pete is done with that scene, we're going to have to give that artwork as reference to Quentin, who's doing the issue before, so he can see what that scene looks like. So that's I don't know. I'm sure in the history of comics it's probably been done before. I can't imagine that this is that strange of a thing. We haven't had to do that before, so it is kind of funny that funny, haha, funny, unusual. I don't know. But yeah, so it's going to be an unusual kind of thing to draw the second half of a scene that hasn't been drawn yet. So yeah, and Tommy and I have been talking about some really cool things about some covers for these, and so it's kind of exciting. And we're still working on the playing card thing. We hinted at that some, so we're going to make some playing cards, and so we've got some cool ideas for that as well. So but that's about Trumps, and so that's down the road a little bit. Anybody else have anything to say before we get on to our topic?
Oh, you talked about covers, and I immediately started thinking about bringing back chromium covers from the 90s.
Have you been reading my emails?
No, but great minds think
You
alike.
Delete that stuff fast.
Did you want to say anything about merchandise?
We do have merchandise. We did not have the opportunity. So we got we're working on getting the full quote unquote store up online, and we got into play around. BJ and I were working on it this week. Spent an hour and a half, something like that, on it, and we got everything in pretty good shape, except for the postage. You're like, well, how do we get all this postage? And so it ended up we're going to have to go in and weigh everything, because the way it does it, it's gonna each item has a weight, and the store is going to calculate postage based on your zip code and the weight, which I think is going to be a good thing, but we're not really sure yet. So we got to go back in and do some use the scales and get some weight, and we got to prepackage some things, because it's like, well, I don't know how much a t-shirt is going to cost to mail. I don't know how much that weighs. So we're going to have to do some of that, but it is 95% ready, I think. So if you do want a t-shirt, I don't happen to have, I'm flying my Kablam colors tonight. Kablam, who we absolutely love. They print all of our books. But
And Tommy's okay.
Yeah, Tommy's all right. Anybody have on a
Okay.
Aaron? I can't see what's on your shirt. You don't have your Silverline shirt on? Nope.
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, so none of us are flying the Silverline t-shirts tonight, but
Is that the stream I'm on? I gotta go. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me type a little hello. everyone on Chatland speak up and say hi. Okay. So yeah, so we got some mugs, we got some t-shirts. We ended up getting a very, very limited run of face mask. So like here we
Get
go.
him before COVID's over.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was one of the things we were like, well, do we, Texas doesn't do it, Mississippi didn't do it. We're like, who might be next? And we're like, well, we can't, well, number one, we can't afford to, but it's like, we don't want to get too many because then we'll be stuck with all these masks that nobody wants. And so, so we've got a few.
If history has shown us, we don't need to judge what we need to do based off of Texas or Mississippi.
Yeah.
How dare you disparage those states?
Hey, Mississippi's my home state, so hush now.
Oh,
You say that with
I
such
know
pride.
about Mississippi.
I grew up there, so. All right. Anything else before we get into our topic? Okay. So tonight, our topic is, I think Brett kind of abbreviated it just to comics and graphic novels. Is that what the topic says, Brett, or what'd you say? Okay, so comics versus graphic novels. So really what I want to do, and this is kind of one of these things that, we in comics, we kind of know things that people not in comics don't always know. And sometimes it's kind of fun talking about. So my question is this. What's the difference between comics and graphic novels?
I mean,
One you can get
the
from the
obvious?
library.
One's skinny, one's fat.
Besides the obvious that a comic is like a little segment of an ongoing story, and a graphic novel is a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah,
It's up for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't answer my question with another question.
I think graphic. I mean, I think they used to start collecting issues, but I don't know if there were graphic novels first that were solid books, like one book, and then
Is
they started collecting
Saga a
issues.
graphic novel? Is Saga a graphic novel?
Saga, no, because individual issues, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they have graphic novels of it, I guess.
Yeah, because it's collected
So,
Yeah.
editions. Yeah.
So, is there a difference between a graphic novel and a collected novel?
Well, Aaron, that's what we were asking.
Yes,
I keep
that is what we're
expecting
asking.
the Wednesday whammers to start showing, especially see Michael, but like, you know what? I have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
Here's a flow chart of
I know.
why.
Well, if Curtis was here, we'd be getting the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
I have examples. Would that work?
Go ahead.
Examples
Okay.
always work.
All right. Here's an example.
I teach this in my class too.
Yep. Here's an example of one that's got a comprehensive completed story, but yet it leaves a cliffhanger that you could lead into the next graphic novel. This is Mice Templar.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, and there isn't. It's one complete arc contained in one book. Okay, so here's another one, Strangers in Paradise, and this just collects the first few issues of the Strangers in Paradise singles into one book, but it obviously it's a part of a huge ongoing arc.
So is that a graphic novel?
Well, yeah. Is this a graphic novel or not, or is this collected? That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to certainly. I'll tell you what I teach in the class, but I certainly would like us to discuss it a little bit. What do you think?
Here's another one. This is
ElfQuest. Yeah.
ElfQuest.
Now, is that the graphic novel, or is that some of the collected editions? Because ElfQuest does have graphic novels, if I remember.
Again, this is collected, but it's the complete story arc of the first series. And so it's
Pete's
not
like, I don't know why we're still talking about this. I already answered it. Let's just move on.
I know.
Pete answered it. What? I missed it.
Yeah, he did.
And then my last one is kind of the quintessential.
Mouse.
Yeah.
So is Mouse a graphic novel?
Well, it won a Pulitzer Prize for a graphic novel, so
It did, but Is it a graphic novel?
I
According
think so.
to the Pulitzer Prize, it is.
Yeah, I think it is because it's not part of a sequential art series. It's
Is it not?
self-contained.
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm not. Because it's just
Don't
you
let
saying
rolling back you down,
Yeah.
Barb.
So
You got to
little
back.
little known fact about Mouse. Art Spiegelman actually has his own art literary magazine called Raw, and Mouse was published episodically.
I did not know that.
Yes, Mouse was published episodically in Raw.
So it would
Oh,
be
how about
collected.
Yeah.
Did not know that. See,
But it won a
I've
graphic
been
novel
misled.
award, which means it's a graphic novel.
So does it really though?
So what's your definition of a graphic novel? Then?
Pete?
He's like, I'm not going to tell you.
Now, look, a graphic novel, I would say, is a self-contained story that's not released on a monthly basis. So it's just
That's because if it's released on a monthly basis and then you publish it as a in a square bound, what is that?
It's collected.
That's a collected volume.
just
It's
a trade paperback. Yeah.
There's several terms that we use for it, right? There's a trade. You go to the retailers are always going to call them trades, right? It's a trade paperback. It's a trade. It's a collected volume. You can hear it's a compilation. It's a collection. All of these things. But if it's published episodically, right, and then it's all those episodes then are collected into a volume. It's not a real graphic novel because it's a collection. It's a compilation.
So what happens if you have a graphic novel, but it leaves it open for the next graphic novel? That's what these are.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Writer, let's hear this.
Well, it's still a graphic novel.
This is a complete from beginning and it's not episodic.
Right. So it'd be the same as like a novel trilogy, right? So you call the Lord of the Rings that's a novel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two Towers, that's the second book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's a novel, but it's part of a trilogy. Two Towers takes up the story where the Lord of the Rings left off. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, right? It's been a long time since I've read them yet for the title. But that's a story. It finishes, but it does leave enough that it picks up then in Two Towers. But each of them are novels, right? But they make up a trilogy. So a graphic novel can do the same.
And so today on Silverline, we're calling the Pulitzer people to tell them they got it wrong.
No. Okay, so let's talk about. I think let's talk about why is it important, or is it important, and what does it matter what they're called?
Well, so let me ask you this, almighty
Barb's
graphic
like,
novel.
would you shut up and just ask the question you want to ask?
So if
Yes,
you take
Mr.
this,
Professor.
I know. So if you take the series
Wubba says,
of,
"Hola, Silverline fan, we miss you, man."
Are we getting graded on this?
I think we are.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a pop
Let me get my red pen out.
So if a graphic novel is something that's a complete thing, so if you take the series Bone, Bone started as a sequential, then was in collected volumes. Then when you collect the whole thing in one, doesn't that turn into a graphic novel from a collected volume to a graphic novel?
Well, I think they
Can
actually
you transform it there?
I think they actually call it an omnibus.
Oh,
now we're throwing another one in.
Oh, look at that. So you're talking omnibus because it's 1,000 pages?
It's like 1,300 pages. Yeah,
I
know. It's long.
The bigger it is, the bigger name it gets.
Well, the Cerebus ones are called the phone books, right?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how that guy got my number. It's like, why am I listed in here?
So let me ask you a question, and Barb may be able to answer this a little bit better, only because she has slight veteran status over you younger ones.
I don't think she's talking to you, dude.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. She's having fun with this. I know she is. So when you tell people what you do, Wubba says no, that turns into an omnibus, a massive paperweight.
Paperweight.
No, it's a weapon. It's not a paperweight.
It's a book
It's
stop.
a weapon.
I'm gonna throw the book at you.
So when you tell people what you do, all right. So maybe not today, Barb, but think about when you first got started.
Mhm.
When you tell people what you do, what did you tell them?
I tell them I'm a comic book artist.
All right. What kind of reactions did you get?
Oh, what strip do you do? And do you work on the Sunday papers? That's the
Right?
first one. That's the first one I always get. What I
Yeah.
like Snoopy?
Right. It's like Snoopy, yeah. Because they don't know
Yeah.
the difference between
A
a comic strip.
strip and a comic book.
Yeah.
And then I say, no, like more like Batman and Superman.
Oh, so you do Batman.
No, I didn't say I did Batman. Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Uh,
I always get asked if I do tattoos or thought about doing tattoos.
Yeah, I get that all the time. Will you do my tattoo? No.
You draw my tattoo? Have you
I don't
thought
know.
about
Yeah, I
doing
get that a lot
tattoos?
too. Like, have you ever thought about doing like tattoos or whatever?
I design all my own tattoos, but I don't design anybody else's.
And I
Well,
always tell
I've
them
done an
like,
tattoos?
apprenticeship. I've
Do I
done an
have tattoos? Of course
apprenticeship.
I
yeah.
do.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
I've got one right there.
I can see it now. Wow. Okay.
Got one on the back of my neck.
Wow.
she also rides a
Okay.
Harley.
Getting ready to have a third one.
Pete's like, yeah, you stab people in the throat too.
Mhm.
See, I always tell people, I would, if you want to put my artwork on your body, I'd be more than, that's, very inspiring. Depends on what part of your body you put it on. That could be either inspiring or insulting. So I'm like, so that's what you think of me? Well, fine. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as like drawing for tattoo parlors, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Can people make I mean, I would just assume like, how much would they even pay for?
The people who draw for tattoo parlors also do the tattoos.
I was gonna say, I assumed it was
Yeah.
the same people,
I
but now
thought, yeah, it was
Wubba
like they're
says he's done
studios.
tattoos.
Like actually
I-
done tattoos or drawn?
Like,
I've
so-
done an
so-
apprenticeship. There's people with my artwork on them.
So Wubba, do you mean that you've actually poked a pin in people, or you just drawn on their skins?
Don't look it on the feed.
I know, but so Wubba's got some Wi-Fi issues at the house. He said, or
Okay, so let's
internet
bring this
issues.
back to
something like that.
graphic novels. If you put numerous tattoos on a body, can you turn your body into a graphic novel? Now, this is the question.
Yeah, Wubba says he has actually done tattoos for money. So
For money,
yeah,
Oh,
even
my.
in the pen, yeah,
What's that?
yeah. Comic artists, we don't know about. We know about. You mean you were paid an exposure? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, yeah.
Because
In
that's
more
the
ways than
currency.
one.
Me and Peter, we don't work on that. What'd you say, Barbara?
I said in more ways than one. Exposure.
Yeah. Especially
I mean,
tattoos.
I told you can choose the rug.
I've even built my own machines.
You what? You milk your own machines?
No, built my own machines
Oh.
for tattooing.
Oh. Wow. You
Yeah, I was
built
an
a
apprentice.
tattoo machine.
I built 3 actually.
So, okay, I gotta ask, have you tested these
I've used them.
on yourself?
When I had
yeah.
my apprenticeship, I actually tattooed people.
Okay, they're still alive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I didn't. It's not like I tattooed your face on them, Aaron.
Yeah, that's true. There's nothing that causes. Yeah.
Wubba said it was real money and not the comic book exposure kind of money. Yeah. All right, so let's get back to back to comics and graphic novels.
And omnibuses. Let's don't forget those because we've thrown a third term in here now. Is there any
Yeah,
more?
yeah.
Am I missing any?
Hold on, let me look. I'm gonna look that up, Barb. Hold on just a second.
So I think though, which Aaron mentioned Bone, which I highly recommend, by the way. If you,
Me too, I
Yes.
have them all.
yeah, if anyone has not read Bone, it is very, very good. I was reading the floppies in the '90s when they were first coming out. I can't remember Jeff Smith's cartoon books, maybe the name of
And I
his.
saw the guy wearing a brace. I think he got carpal tunnel, so throw the guy some money because he hurt himself
Jeff
doing this
Smith?
book. I saw him wearing a brace one time, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I remember when he had his very first issue of Bone out, and that was when Capital City Distribution was still here in Madison.
Mm.
and they were having their annual trade show, and I was there, and he had his he had a card table set up.
Yeah.
He was trying to push Bone in.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I didn't discover Bone until about issue number 4, and I think someone told me, dude, you got to go get this, and so I did. I think it might have been Tom Mason actually told me that. So so I did, and I got hooked on Bone, and then he went to then he did the trades, and then he went to Scholastic and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I used to read it. He came to a local Comic Con, one of our smaller ones. Like I remember him having a table. I'm trying to think if he was just there as like if they invited him or not. I don't remember, but I remember he had like the first maybe 3 or 4. I think I was like you, Roland. I think I discovered around those issues.
Well, they're in the 90s, probably the late 90s. He and Dave Sim, who did Cerebus, they were big. They were the two primary voices for independent comics. And even though you'd think, oh well, Image should have been in there, no, they were probably part of the discussion as a company. But Dave Sim and Jeff Smith were both they were the voices of independent comics in the late 90s. For Bone and Cerebus.
Yeah, especially
yeah.
Dave Sim, and he was kind of the what you wanted as far as like the fact that he did so many issues, like the complete life of this thing. It was like one of those dream projects that most independents would like to do.
So was it 100 issues that he did of
300?
300.
300.
Yeah. And he said that at the beginning, like halfway, he said like this is going to be 300 issues in the life and death of this aardvark. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've got about, I can't remember how many phone books they did. I've got 9 of them. And I've just recently reread like the first 5, and they still hold up. They're still good. But I need to get back in and reread them. Wubba says, we've determined an omnibus isn't a book, it's a weapon. Showing that print is mightier than the sword.
That's definitely true.
And then he says he didn't read Bone, but loves Cerebus. They're 2 very different books, but they're both very good, I think.
I love Bone.
Yeah, so Bone printed first, episodically in the floppies, then collected into trades, right? You could still get the trades. I think he numbered them, book 1, book 2, that kind of thing. Dave Sim, I think, named his. I don't know if I don't think he numbered them. I think he named them.
And see, there's another thing that when that term first came out, it confused me. Trades. What's a trade? So there's another term.
Well, so do you know where that term comes from?
No.
So
let Roland tell you.
Daniel, class with Roland.
So it's a book industry, book market term, right? In novels, you have hardbacks, you have mass market paperbacks, right? Which is the $4, $5, $6 books now. They used to be like $3 books, the little bitty ones. And then you have trade paperbacks. Right. So the trade paperback was kind of that step in between. You couldn't afford the $30 hardback, but you could buy the $15 to $20 trade paper because you wanted more than the $4 mass market, right? And so it's a book industry term, trade paperback. Well, when you collect a series into a quote unquote graphic novel, it looks like a trade paperback. And so this is a great way to distinguish, if you're a retailer, right? A great way to distinguish. I've got floppies, I've got trade papers, I've got graphic novels, right?
Yep. So this one would technically be.
Sure, Roland.
Okay, so I like the way Barb said technically, because we'll come back to that.
Technically, this would be a trade paperback.
Yes, right.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
You can't win for trying.
Because it's not like a book.
Right.
It's kind of floppy, but it's nicer than your singles.
It's still got a square bound, right? It's got a spine. Yep. So you can put it in your bookshelf like you would a hardcover, and you can read the side there. Wubba says, "Oh, he's still on. That'll be on the test, folks."
Yeah.
And he says 300 shy. Todd didn't break the record. Full 301. 300. Oh, why Todd didn't break the record until 301 issues. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't. I think that's also an American. I think in like, well, Japan doesn't do issues, so I guess you had to be an American. No other country does single issues besides America.
What's up, Dempsey? Oh, Dempsey reminds
I
me of
think that's
something that BJ told me to do tonight.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Uh,
Do we want to know?
what's that?
No.
I said, do we want to know?
Nah, it's just something I
Nuh-uh.
forgot to do. What's up, Dempsey? I already said what's up. See, 9:45. Okay, so we kind of got some definitions there, right?
Mhm.
So we're gonna go a little bit early, but we're gonna go ahead and go. I'm gonna do what I forgot to do earlier because Dempsey reminded me,
Uh-oh.
and then we're going to go into the review. Brett, I forget, is it Martin or Wayne Hall? Who's the review?
Our unpaid producers
He's-
left.
Good enough.
Has left the building.
Wayne, okay. Brad Arnie, always for single issues. Issuers. Hey, Brad, good to see you here. Yeah, I'm kind of a single issue guy too. I like the format. I like personally, I like the reading experience. Thank you, Brett. But I'm also one of those that I don't really binge a lot of the Netflix shows. I watch them an episode at a time. And I know a lot of people sit down and they'll watch a whole season, but number one, I don't have that kind of time, so I don't really binge. I might watch 2 episodes, particularly if it's a shorter thing. If it's a 20-minute one, I might watch 2 because then that's like a 40-minute episode. Wubba says he's blaming all the spirit errors spelling. I'm blaming speaking errors. So Wubba, is it okay if I mention that? What did you say? Wubba says I'm blaming all spelling errors tonight on COVID. Yeah. So while I wait on Wubba's answer, I am going to say because Dempsey reminded me. I don't think I know we've said this in our Silverline chat. But I am excited to say that Silverline now has 2 interns. So Dempsey Blackman is one of them. Dempsey, yep. And BJ is she's got them a list of stuff to do. So I know you guys are like, hey, I'm getting emails from this person and they're asking me my birthday. What is it? Why does this person want to know about my birthday? And this is why they're putting a whole bunch of stuff together for us, working on our social media,
It's
working
not so much
on
the birthday; it's the fact you ask for social security numbers, and that's why I start to break down with it.
There's a lot of
I wasn't supposed to give him that.
Yeah,
I didn't
sorry,
give him
man.
mine anyway. I didn't give him mine anyway.
That was for me. That wasn't for them.
I gave him somebody else's.
Yeah, I know mine, John, and I really appreciate if you could stop doing that.
Okay, Wubba, you said can't mention it, so okay, I won't. Yeah, Dempsey says interns, woohoo, and Cassisi says very cool. Yeah, I need to reach out to Cassisi too because I want to do a listener interaction stream sometime, and I need some active listeners that's gonna cause you guys to do some stuff.
Run, Cassisi, run.
So
stuff?
no. So Dempsey, yeah. So Dempsey Blackman is one of the interns, and the other intern is Dante Berry. I have been calling. I have a nickname that around the house for them that BJ says she doesn't like it. She's like, yeah, I don't know if you really need to say that. I'm going to say it anyway because she's not here and she can't stop me. Don't think so. I've been calling them the double D's. We've got Dante and Dempsey.
That's better than thing 1 and thing 2.
Yeah. So both of them are very interested in comics. And they are just in the small amount of time that we've talked with them, they are like sponges. And Dempsey actually has his creative writing degree. So
And if anybody
Uh,
forgets, that's how Curtis started out in the industry.
It is exactly how Curtis started. Curtis started as an intern. So
I'm sitting
um,
here going, wow, the writing professor couldn't come up with something better than the double D's.
it was just spur of the, because I was saying their names side by side. I said Dante and Dempsey, and then it was at that moment that I realized that their first names both started with a D. I'm like, oh, look, double D's.
You guys didn't hear that, but we did.
No. Yeah. Okay, so Wubba actually has COVID, y'all. Yeah, he just said that I could say. I wasn't gonna say it because I'm like, that's not my information to tell. But yeah, Wubba actually has COVID. So I think he picked it up from work. And he did send me a message though. He did say, well, that just means I've got more time to draw. And I said, good. I'll expect issue 2 next week.
You got to hurry, Wubba, because Peter's finishing that 4 issues now. I mean, he's like, you can see him going. So
hammering it out. Can't promise it'll
Smoke's
be
coming
good.
off of his pencil there.
Yeah.
Can't you see the smoke just coming off? You see smoke just rising from Peter's.
You can usually hear it. It usually goes.
Yeah, I'm not using the electric today. You're okay.
Well, hey, Wubba, feel better, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel better,
we want you to get better soon, and I know Wubba can see it, but Kasisi said get well soon too. Wubba. I am. Wubba's not on here. I am happy to say that Wubba has finished the first issue of Cat and Mouse that he's working on for the next series. And I saw Jeff post some inks the other day. I guess he's switching tablets or something like that. So he was talking about can't remember if he's switching tablets or just going from.
He switched to a Surface Pro.
Okay, yeah. I knew it was something like that, but really, what I was paying attention to is he had Cat and Mouse up on his screen that he was showed that he was inking. So yeah,
we have very, very deep intellectual discussions amongst everybody in the company. Like, I like this program better than that program.
Yeah, right.
Apple sucks.
You're right. Yeah. There was some of that, right? Wubba is actually working on issue 2 now. It's kind of exciting for me because I sent him the plot, and he read through and was like, oh, this is exciting. It's the writer's like, you don't get a whole lot of, it's not a visual thing, right? You can show me your art and you go, ooh, this looks good. So as a writer, you kind of like, okay, did you like it? Did you hate it? And so when I got the feedback from Wubba, I liked it. Pete's feedback to me on Silverline Team Up #2, short and sweet, right? As Pete's known for short and sweet quips, he said, "Whoa, that took a dark turn."
Got pretty dark there, didn't it? It does. I was like, "Oh,
that was it."
All right.
I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but was that?" And so I had to ask him. So was that a good dark turn?
Oh, yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Well, he's not talking about throwing it in a hole, so I think it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go to Wayne Hall's comic review, and then we're gonna come back and talk about why it's important that there's a difference between comic, or maybe not why, or is it important that there's a difference between comics and graphic novels and the terms? Okay,
No.
Brent, Wayne Hall, take it away.
Hi, it's Wayne Hall back again with another indie comic that you can buy in your local shop. And this week I'm happy to be talking about one of my favorites. It's called The Wrong Earth, as you see in the title sequence. And it had a mini-series. This one here in particular I have the paper version of, Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man. And there you see The Wrong Earth down here. The whole series is based on the concept, the old joke that if Adam West Batman had come across Christopher Nolan Batman, he might try to arrest him because it looks like a criminal. And so what happens on this series is that these two heroes are changing Earths. Dragonfly Man, which is more of the Adam West-like Batman, and Dragonfly who is Christopher Nolan, like they switch Earths, and of course both of them have a sidekick by the name of Stinger, who's on there, and you can see the way that they're treated is so different between the two of them, and it ends up very interestingly. In the current series, we find out why they've had to go to different Earths and why they've been switched, and we actually get to see the two of them interact with each other, and it's a lot of fun, I have to say. They get captured, and in one place they're stuck on a wall, and Dragonfly Man is on the left and Dragonfly's on the right, and Dragonfly says, well, and then we go to the next panel and he says, don't you have any anti-manacle cream or some other ridiculous way out of this? And Dragonfly Man, who never loses his cool, says, I know how we're going to escape. Great, fine, let's go, the other goes. When the time is right, he goes. And it's really a lot of fun to read. The whole thing is just a wonderful series, giving commentary on the archetypal Batman and that kind of character. Marvel's got several versions of him as well. And so it's really an interesting book to see how they handle this. We find out in this new series why they've been switched, as I said, and they come to discuss what's going on with the big bad, shall we say. And it's a lot of fun to see how these things go. Now, of course, Ahoy has done that with Superman as well. They've got a book called Penultiman, and that is about a Superman alike who's insecure, interestingly enough. And I'm looking forward to the day when these guys cross over. It'll be a lot of fun because I always enjoy when Batman and Superman get together. To see these two very different characters get together would be a lot of fun for me. So we'll see that. But anyway, getting back to Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man, it's a lot of interesting things to see how they go. We get to see how the different villains are from universe to universe. And then we get to see how the heroes are, the people who work with these heroes. Everything is very different in the two Earths, and it's really an interesting twist. Even on the picture of Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man being captured, you can see that Dragonfly is much more muscular, and the other guy, Dragonfly Man, is much less so. He's much more dad-bodish, I guess you want to say. And the two of them, when they interact, that's where a lot of the comedy comes, when they criticize each other with a lot less than respect. That's the best way to say it. And it's such an interesting thing to read. I've enjoyed it. The trick about this, and I've already talked a little bit about this, is the fact that they struggle to get these things named properly in my mind. The first series was called The Wrong Earth, and that's where we get to see what's going on. This one was like after that, and it's not called Wrong Earth, it's called Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man. And that's a problem because, if you're looking for Wrong Earth, that's a way different part of the alphabet. And the current one, they've gone back to the Wrong Earth, thankfully, and I think that makes it a lot easier to keep up with. But the thing that's really fun to see about this is what if, my favorite question, what if Batman was on a different planet? What if Batman came from two different worlds? And if you ran into each other, it's not like in DC Justice Society and Justice League, there were two different Batmans. One was older than the other. But this one, they are Batman as if they had been growing up in a different universe. And as such, I enjoy it. Let's just say there are surprises along the way. Batman has Batgirl, and something similar happens in this book. More than that, I don't want to say because I think it's a lot of fun to see it. The technology they use is a lot more fun. Of course, Dragonfly Man has a lot more of those crazy devices. The other guy tends not to use those kinds of things, which is a great deal of hilarity as far as I can tell. And I just don't know how this is going to wrap up. And that's the fun thing about it. I think that Tom Payer, who does the writing of these, has a real interesting imagination when it comes to approaching superheroes. Because, a lot of people say you can't do anything more with superheroes because it's already been done. And I don't think that's the case. And Mr. Tom shows us that there's still room for lots of creativity. So let's get to the grading. The first grading level, of course, is writing, and I think the writing is particularly sharp in this. I would give it at least an A. The way that the two of them are obviously different from each other, and yet they're the same character, is really very enjoyable. I really get a huge kick out of the way they're written. They're smartly done, and I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful series. I hope this isn't the end of it, to be honest with you. I really enjoy it. As a longtime Batman fan, I am really enjoying the heck out of this. Now, the art is very good, very properly superheroic, which I really like. And I think it's done superbly well because it fits the tone. As you can tell, when he's in the darker universe, things are darker, a lot darker. When he's in the superhero, it's all bright colors and happy looking stuff and things like that. The commissioners are very different based on the universe. So I think the art is clearly well done so that we know right away who is who and what universe we're talking about. And even when they're in the different universes than they normally belong in, we see a lot of difference, and I really like that. It's really, really well done. So I would give the A to the art. Art is just a great, superbly done thing. Lettering, as I'm always critical of, I think it's actually quite well done in this book and in all of them across the board, including the current one. The current one has a very good job of doing it. When they're captured, they're apparently on a wall. It's a white background completely, as you saw. And it's just a very interesting thing, the way that they do that. The lettering is really appropriately placed. It's very nicely put together. So I give the lettering a good B, maybe B+. Literary merit. This is the one I'm always a little hard to figure, but when you realize that they're dealing with two characters like Adam West was a guy from the 60s, and Christopher Nolan, much more recent time, I think this book really 10, even 20, 30 years from now, I think will speak to people because Batman's not going anywhere. The concept of who he is and what's going on is not going to change, I don't think. And so I think that this book is going to be something that, especially if you're fans of The Dark Knight or The Bright Knight, as they call Adam West, I think you're going to really enjoy this book. So I would give literary merit an A. Its staying power is going to be fun. Now, fun factor, the next one. That is a very interesting thing because they are critical of each other. Of course, the Dragonfly Man is much less caustic than Dragonfly is, so there's a lot less nastiness in what he says, but they still do criticize each other quite a bit. And then there's situations they get into, very funny things. I really like it. I don't normally come across books that have a good high fun factor, but this one has to be at least a B or a B+ as well. It's really, really good. Overall grade, as a longtime Batman fan and somebody who enjoys this kind of character, I have to say this is well done, and it's one of those books that I think is going to be around for a long time and be a classic when it's all said and done. I have to give this a good high A. It's just something special. If you like this kind of character like I do, and if you want to see more of this, I highly recommend you get out and get it from Ahoy Comics. It's just well done. One of the best out there, especially if you're a Bat fan like I am. So that's this week with comics, and get your indie comics at your local shop. If you can't, try Amazon if they're not there for some reason. But until next time, keep reading your comics.
And thank you for that comic review, Wayne Hall. Wayne reviews comics on his own site, and he graciously and generously lets us use his reviews here so that you can be introduced to other independent comics because Silverline is all about independent comics. Hey, and we're being joined right on time. We'll see if she's up to drawing. If not, maybe we'll see if Pete or Barb want to share. So,
Go for it, Bob.
Okay. She's
I
still
s- if-
connected. She's still
I can
connected.
show you what
to-
I can show you what
Hello.
I've just done.
Okay.
But
So hey, Roberta, you coming on just in time?
much to
Yes.
look at.
Yeah. No. We're going to do that, Pete. Let's get
Oh,
Roberta introduced.
okay.
Introduced. So Roberta, introduce yourself and tell
I
everybody who
was-
you are. So hey, Roberta, you coming on just in time? Yes.
All right, hold on.
She's getting a little echo there. Tommy just sent me a message and said for me to
Aha.
remind everybody that the Friar Rush, the Pete Friar Rush cover is also available. Tommy has inked that on paper, and that is also available on the Kickstarter.
Ooh.
So
Man, I've been
yeah.
busy.
Yeah, you have been busy.
And I really
Peter-
like
I've
that
been
cover.
busy.
I like that
Peter
cover a
likes to
lot.
draw pretty pictures.
How many pages a
I
day
draw
does
good.
Tommy ink? I mean,
I
he
draw
like
good.
10?
I draw
It's
good.
insane.
I don't know. He's jamming.
I know
Okay, Roberta, can you hear now?
Yes, I realized I
Yes.
had my earphones plugged in the back, and they were off to the side. And I'm like, oh my god, there they are.
Tell everybody
Right.
who you are.
Hi, I'm Roberta Conroy. I'm the colorist for the Silverline Team Up Champion and Miss Fury and Cat and Mouse.
Woohoo! Which, Roberta, I don't know if you heard earlier, but Wubba has finished penciling all of the first issue. So I
Oh,
don't have it.
wow.
Yeah, I don't have it all in my
That's
hands
great.
yet. He still has yet to scan a couple of, but Wubba also has COVID, so he is
Oh,
yeah.
is that new? That just
It is,
happened?
yeah, it just happened. So he's
Oh,
not
man.
going to be able to get out and
I'm
get
sorry,
those
Wubba.
pages.
Get better. That's all right.
COVID, that's no excuse, man.
Yeah.
That's just
No, I just
What do
told
you
him, because he said he's going to be at home more. I just said, hey, that just means you get to draw more.
I know. I
That's
like how
right.
he's like home wallowing in misery. You can draw.
But okay, so this is actually a serious question. Okay, so he had some concerns about putting the pages in the mail and sending them to me. And of course, I just said just send them on, and he's like, well, I
Oh.
don't know, should I spray them with Lysol or?
No,
I-
it doesn't
That's
stick on the
fine.
surface.
No.
And if you're really that concerned, just leave it in the box for 2 days and open it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was talking about hopefully he's still listening, so he'll hear this, but he was talking about spraying them with something and hanging them outside, but he said he did a
Mhm.
test page and it wrinkled the page up, and I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
don't,
man.
yeah, it's like don't do
Yeah.
that. It didn't have any art. This one didn't have any artwork. It was just test page, right?
They've proven that. I mean,
Yeah.
and we're super careful in this household.
Yeah.
We isolate and everything, but they've proven that whole panic when this first set in and everybody was like wiping
Right.
everything down, it's not really spread that way. It's
Yeah.
airborne. So
Now,
Right.
if Wubba goes about licking each page
That
personally,
might be a
now
problem,
That might be a problem.
So you saying I should look for lick spots when I get the pages?
That's how they actually used to, like the old I think Renaissance artists. I think it was Renaissance. That's how they actually would varnish. That's absolutely true.
You're making
Yeah, they paint 'em.
no.
That's gross.
I swear
They
to
used
God,
to-
you can look it up. Yeah, they would lick it. Not all of them. Some would lick it to get it smooth.
They
But
would
they
put
put
an
this sort of
egg wash on
overcoating.
it. They put an egg wash on it.
That's probably why they were licking it. But yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that wouldn't it smear it?
I would think so. So I'm curious to know how they. But I have heard that that's.
I think you need to, on a stream sometime, you need to do something and then you need to demonstrate how that was done.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
Mhm.
because I'm not sure I believe it. I think you're making this up.
I think you
I
gotta
said
prove
I've heard it. I didn't say I saw anyone actually do it.
You gotta
I also,
prove
you know,
this.
Roberta, are you up to sharing your screen?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm still kind of fladding around, so yes.
Okay,
Give me a
so
second, I will get it up.
all right, we'll just Brett, just make sure the change happens. Just boot Aaron, I guess.
I don't see why you haven't booted me before. I mean, I'm even tired of looking at my stuff, and I'm doing it. So
Yeah, Dempsey said, "How it's made, the more you know." So all right, so Roberta, what you missed in kind of the first hour, we talked about sort of the definitions between comics and graphic novels and trades and omnibuses and stuff like that. So the question I want to toss out now for the back half, right, is does it matter? Does it matter if they're called comics or if they're called graphic novels? And if it does, who does it matter to? And why does it matter if it doesn't?
Yeah,
I
I
will
guess
say. Oh,
Are we
go
still
ahead.
on this topic?
it's a
We've
good
not
topic.
finished this.
Pete's like, I solved it all. Let's move on.
I
Good
will say
topic
this:
to
It is.
categorize it. Huh?
if it didn't matter, they wouldn't have changed the name.
It doesn't matter to people who are true comic fans because we know.
Exactly.
However, the general public has a different perception
Yes.
of a comic book. Oh, that's for kids, and a graphic novel. It's all about perception, and it's more prestigious apparently to be a graphic novel as it is to be a comic.
Yeah,
That
you know,
makes more sense.
yeah. Well, you know, and John was talking about the Pulitzer Prize, right? So, why is that the Pulitzer Prize for? Why isn't that Pulitzer Prize in comics? Why is it the Pulitzer Prize for graphic? Actually, I don't think it's graphic. Is it graphic novel or graphic?
You ready for me to share?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm gonna try to look that up real quick because I don't think it was actually graphic novel. Now that I think about it, a mouse Pulitzer. I think it was graphic something else.
that was actually kind of funny since I'm actually screen sharing. My screen actually. I had it full
What's
screen,
it
so it actually switched from mine to all of a sudden I'm like coloring Roberta's. I'm like, Roberta,
No,
you're so. I mean, like seriously, like yeah, you just need to get out of here.
that's really funny.
Okay, so Wikipedia, and we know that's always correct, right?
Yeah.
Wikipedia says that it won a Pulitzer Prize, but it was a special award in letters. So that was the award that it was granted. So it's not a Pulitzer in graphic novels, the special award in letters, right? I do think they created after this a graphic narrative, right?
Oh,
Not
shit, like
right. I'd have to look that up. But I oh wait a minute, here's some categories here. Let's see. But I think they.
So they're getting even more prestigious, a graphic narrative.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds awesome.
I would like
Doesn't
that
it?
title
It
instead of
belongs-
just a colorist.
Yeah.
this is up there when they do the sandwich artist, you know,
Yes.
at Subway, and I'm like, you know, I know it sounds so much better, but yeah, that's a pretty good one. I'm waiting for them to go to sequential master, and then that's what the title.
It's like calling a garbage man a waste disposal technician.
I know. It's like still garbage, dude, no matter what you call it.
Well,
You know
wait, Pete, what do y'all call it?
Rubbish.
I thought that's what you...
So the people who pick that up for you regularly, what are they called?
Bin men.
A bin man. Okay.
Okay, that's
like
actually not
that
bad.
name.
I like that.
You call yours trash man, right?
Yeah.
Garbage man usually. Well,
Yeah.
we call him garbage man.
Yeah.
Sanitation worker.
Sanitation, yes, that's a very lovely way of putting it.
You got to remember, Roberta's in California though. They have
Yep.
fancy names for everybody.
Oh,
else.
that's right, they do.
And
They
that's a
tried
fancy name.
they tried to tell my dad one time that my father's a farmer, and we also raised hogs, and he was an agricultural businessman and pork producer.
Oh my God.
Pork producer.
Not
He's a
gonna go
farmer.
there, Roland.
That's better. Maybe.
Not gonna go there.
Nope. We're not going there. We're talking about comics and graphic novels on
Yes.
this one. Tommy says SN. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's a typo or if he's okay, here we go. Isn't a graphic novel just longer, more pages, maybe cardstock, hard-covered comic book?
Well, this is a whole conversation we
Right,
just
yeah.
had, whether it's
Yeah.
sequential art, which becomes a compilation.
You know, my snarky answer is when someone asks me, what's the difference between a comic and a graphic novel? My snarky answer is usually a graphic novel is just a long comic book.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because we know, right, that it really that's what it is. It's just a comic book has 22 pages, 24 pages, 18 pages. What if you're temporarily DC? Graphic novel just has more, but it's the same thing.
So you're trying to tell me it's a supersized version of the comic book?
It supersized me, yeah.
It is supersized me.
So, but here's I think here's the thing. I think we have to, and Barb kind of touched on it, is like, why does it matter what they're called?
To the general public, I think it matters. That you can push it more in the general public if it's called something other than comics, because a lot of people have this perception that comics is always going to be Daffy Duck or Superman, right?
Yeah.
And I can bring up the other thing that I brought up during the break, which is always, and people can ponder this. So like I said, when you call it graphic novel, it just means comic book graphic novel. But when you're on the news and it says this imagery shows graphic scenes, that means bad blood or gore.
Right.
It's weird how the word graphic can mean different things.
Yeah.
So you would think
That's
if you
true.
put graphic novel, like call it graphic novel, more people would check it out just to see what all the horror and destruction is.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe we should put that in front of graphic novels, warning graphic content inside. It's
So
graphic novel.
So would that be a graphic novel?
That's a good one. It would be a graphic novel. Yes, it would.
Yeah. Tommy says that's what he says. No, it's the same. It's just longer. And then he says, yes, Aaron, a supersized comic. Wubba says, so what was John Byrne's OMAC? It was just serialized. It was just a serialized graphic novel, even though DC labeled it prestige format. We'll yeah. So what about well, a lot of people refer to Dark Knight as a graphic novel.
Oh, The Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah, I'm sorry, The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
But y'all remember how it was published, right? Initially.
Yeah, it was published in it was 4 volumes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a 4-issue prestige format miniseries.
But it was prestige, so I mean they were perfect bound. So were those books little miniature graphic novels in and of themselves collected into a bigger graphic novel? See,
Was it perfect bound?
Yeah, they were perfect bound.
I guess that makes sense because I want to say they were each like 48 pages
47.
long.
Yeah, they were like twice as long. I remember that. And they were prestige format, which I'm going to say over and over again now because it makes Barbara roll her eyes.
I know,
so
it's another
everybody
term.
say prestige format just to torture her.
Well, the thing about it is, and I think the page count is important because if Tommy was on here, he could talk about this. But to square bind something, you have to have a certain number of pages, or it's too thin. You can't actually get a spine, right?
Yeah, the glue won't hold it. Yeah, it'll fall apart.
So, and that number is generally 64 pages. That's about where, the width of paper, but I don't know because I seem to remember it was on Mando paper. Y'all remember when they were,
that's what I was thinking. If it was a thicker paper,
then they might have been able to get fewer pages.
You just need enough surface level for that glue to be able to really bind that cover and bind it. Yeah. It's just starking. So if you use thicker pages, I can see you doing less pages than that. And again, that also contributes to the prestige format.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a word count. Page
so to answer Wubba's question, I think that they're not graphic novels. OMAC. Yeah. Certainly in The Dark Knight Returns, just not a graphic novel. Even though it's sold that way today.
It's walking the line between.
Yeah. I mean, it's a miniseries, right? It's just a miniseries. It was thicker.
So just out of curiosity, since we've described so many collected editions, what would your example be of graphic novels then? Of an actual graphic novel?
Craig Thompson's Blankets.
That's what I was thinking for
right?
Too.
It's I think Barb had one earlier, right? That was a
Yeah, it's the
yeah.
it's
Mouse.
no.
no,
I-
no. We already
I had
We
Mice
discussed that.
Templar, the Mice Templar.
Nice Templar,
series.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are graphic novels out there. Yeah, of course, I'm drawing a blank
Yeah.
right now. And Marvel did some graphic novels early, right? They did the death
Electra
of
Returns.
Low Man Kills.
right, the death of Captain Marvel, right? These were some early graphic novels. They were
And Electra Returns was a great one. The big.
they were a
yeah.
little bit larger, right? They
Yeah.
were actually I think magazine format.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Low Man Kills was one.
right, which was Claremont,
Yeah, that's right.
an X-Men story, right? And I
Yeah.
think these were done late 70s or early 80s, something like that.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of those. And so, but those were, they weren't collected volumes. They were one story. They were longer. And so that's what I would say is a graphic novel. It's a real graphic novel when you have one longer story that's not, that wasn't initially printed episodically, serialized, however you want to say it, and then collected, right? Because that makes it a collection. And they're out there. So before I get here, Dempsey, Cassisi has a good question. Dempsey says the details of what you're getting matters. I agree with that. And then Wubba says the line between graphic novels and comics is prestige.
It is.
Right.
Cassisi says, are graphic novels more attractive to publishers?
Well,
I
here's
think-
what I was
yeah.
I was telling you guys when we were on the break, is that the very first time I ever saw a graphic novel, and this was before I got into the comics industry too. This is what led me into the comics industry. Is I walked into the Walden bookstore. They didn't carry floppies or anything like that, but there on the shelves with the rest of the books was this great big ElfQuest book, and that was in a bookstore. So you had to think, well, this is obviously, a higher end product. And I opened it up like, oh, this is amazing. This is like high gloss paper comic books. And I was hooked right away. And from there, it piqued my interest, and I ended up actually getting into the industry in the end. But that's where I first fell head over heels.
So,
Aw.
so I think one of the things I talk about in my class, I say, if you're going to make them, you kind of need to know what the difference is. You need to know the difference between a compilation and a real graphic novel, just so that you know. But here's my thing is that, I don't get too worked up about the terminology for this very reason. So I'm going to use visual aids now, right? So when I tell people that I wrote,
I have to put my glasses back on.
yeah, when I tell people that I wrote the Demon's Tales comic miniseries, right? They're like, oh, okay, a comic book. Yeah, I see. I got you. But when I tell them, hey, I wrote this Demon Tales graphic novel, the reaction is different, right? Because of the term graphic novel. They're like, oh, you wrote a graphic novel. And I'm like, yes, I did. Right? They're like, let me see it. I want to see that, right? And there are people that will look at this because it has a square bound cover, right? You can, am I upside down? Yeah, I'm upside down. You can see, right? There it is.
Yeah.
Demon's Tales right there on the spine, right? But you and I both know this right here
Comic
it's
book.
just all these, right? Under
Yeah.
one cover.
Mhm.
But the perception makes all the difference in the world. I tell people I wrote a graphic novel, and that matters, right? And I will tell you when I was actually getting my master's degree, I learned this pretty quick. I mentioned that I had written comic books, and you could just see the look on their faces, like comic books. Once you do some real writing, then you can talk to us. So next time I had the opportunity to bring it up, I said something. I said, yeah, well, I wrote some graphic novels. Oh, really? You wrote graphic novels? Yes, I did. Yeah. Oh, that's really impressive. Can you tell me how you did that? Right? How did you write a graphic novel? And suddenly they were super interested because it was called a graphic novel and not a comic book. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's the same stupid thing, right?
But one gets you the lady, the other does not. So remember
right.
that.
Well, how many times do libraries order comic books?
They rarely ever do.
Right. But now they'll order graphic novels and put them on the shelf.
And they even have a graphic novel section. It's marked graphic novels, not comic book section.
Right. Right.
That's right.
And what about so this graphic now bookstores too? I mean, Barb's already mentioned she bought a graphic novel there, right?
Yeah.
Now, a long time ago, when you still had newsstand distribution, you could find some comic books in bookstores, right? But today, of course, you really can't find many bookstores today. But you can't find comic books in bookstores today. But you can find graphic novels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I
absolutely.
think graphic novels considered, I think kids' book and graphic novels like some of the consistent bestsellers in books up with fiction. Yeah.
Really?
Not comic
Yeah.
books, graphic novels.
Right. Yeah.
Image it's as weird as it is. I mean, you're absolutely right. Image is everything.
It is.
And it's a little weird. Just know that anybody who's into comic books always finds this really weird, like Roland, when people get, ooh, graphic novels, comic books, nah, and we're just like,
yeah.
it's the same thing. What? So we walk away bewildered.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for a little while, it bothered me. Just because, I'm sitting there thinking, why are you such an idiot? It's the same thing. And yet you're telling me that you're not going to get it because we call this a comic book, but you'll get it if it's under one cover and we call it a graphic novel. It's the exact same content on the inside, But I think, well, and if you actually look at Marvel and DC, kind of the way, of course, the way they started marketing things, it wasn't until after Mouse won the Pulitzer Prize that we began to see so many compilations show up. Now, you and I call them compilations, but how did Marvel and DC sell them? Hey, you want to buy this Spider-Man graphic novel? By the way, it's called, Craven's Last Hunt. And if you read the indicia on the inside, it says collect Spider-Man such and such and such and such and such and such, right? It'll tell you where it comes from. It's in the print, it will tell you. But they market it as a graphic novel because they know that people are going to buy graphic novels. They're not going to buy, or the greater population, I should say, is gonna buy graphic novels, but they're not going to buy comics.
Right.
Yeah. Tommy says, loving those colors, Roberta. The pencils and inks. Well, the colors are great.
Yeah. I agree.
That's funny.
Wubba said Vertigo used to market themselves as monthly graphic novels for a short time, if he remembers it correctly. And he says they
were more like graphic novels, though.
He said they sell themselves as highbrow entertainment.
Well, that's a lie.
You guys remember the story that Stan Lee used to talk about whenever he would go to these conferences in New York? This is way back, before comics became cool. Y'all ever heard that story of him?
Yeah, he used to say he did something else. He didn't work in comics or something else he said. I can't remember.
Yeah. He would go to these meetings with all these fancy publishing people, and they would say, what do you do? He says, well, I publish. I'm in publishing. Oh, really? Well, what kind of publishing do you do? I'm in children's entertainment or children's publishing. Oh, that's great, right? What do you? And trying to avoid the answer, thinking that it would just stop right there, right? And it's like, oh, well, what kind of children's publishing do you do? He goes, oh, we publish magazines. Oh, that's great. Well, what magazines do you publish? Oh, we do a Spider-Man. Oh, comic books. Yeah. Hey, look, there's my friend. I know. And they would walk away, and it's like Stan's like, it's like I didn't want to tell anyone that I did comics because they did not respect comic books, and so he tried to tell them that he did that was accurate without saying comics.
Do you think, now this is kind of maybe a loaded question a little bit, do you think this image would not be as prevalent if we did not have the Comics Code Authority happen, that whole scenario? Do you think if we did not have...
That's an interesting question.
Juvenile delinquent, and when we started policing ourselves, that we wouldn't have this image like comics for kids and just stuck with it as a genre, we may have... Because you look at countries like Japan and Europe where they never did that, and they're not considered kids entertainment solely.
Well, and you know what? Before the World War II and during World War II, it was considered to be an acceptable form because it was very, very patriotic to read. Captain America was all about winning the war and everything like that.
Yeah,
and
The Comics Code Authority came
wasn't
in the
kids'
50s,
entertainment.
wasn't it? Was it the 50s or it was the 50s,
I think so.
right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it
50s,
was after World War II. Yeah. It was, I mean, because we had, romance comics or whatever. I mean, I think people sometimes say the superhero genre made it for kids, but I don't think so. I really think it's the fact that we started policing ourselves so we would not be labeled as a cause of juvenile delinquency based on the book. I can't remember the guy who wrote the book.
Frederick Wortham.
Who was it?
Frederick Wortham.
Frederick Wortham.
Wortham, yeah.
Yeah. The
That
book
we
was
would not
called
have this
Seduction of the
image.
Innocent.
Yeah. Because even when we got rid of the Comics Code Authority, I mean, what has it been now? 9 years? that we got rid of
2011.
it? 2011, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but people still see it. It's like, in other words, can we reverse the damage that has been done? And I don't know if we can. I think we can with younger generations. I think and I think one of the things that is reversing this, strangely enough, is manga a little bit.
Yeah.
It's helping to reverse that a bit slowly, but the older generation, comics are still for kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they call them funny books.
Yes.
I mean,
funny
that
books.
was
That's right.
Yeah. So.
And,
I know
and
some
when
of
I,
them weren't very
still
funny.
calls them funny books.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I know a couple people call them funny books just because they're doing it just to be funny,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
John Lucas still calls them funny books.
Well, Dave Olbrich, still calls them funny books. But I think, I mean, he worked as a publisher at Malibu for, the whole time. And I don't think he thinks they're funny.
No, I think it was just, I don't think they made anything bad by the term. It was just, I think what they're referring to is comic strips and newspapers are funny books reprinting. I think that's where that term came from. Not that the books are goofy in themselves, but you print the funny comic strips, funny books.
Right.
That's why and I'm guessing, I could be wrong about that, but I'm guessing that's where that term is originated from.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in the older generation that when they think about it, they think of Little Lulu and Daffy Duck and what's the little devil, the little red devil?
Hot Stuff.
Hot Shot.
Hot Stuff. And Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, my grandmother used to, she was born in 1922. She's no longer with us. But she used to read comic books. But now she didn't read the same kind of comics I read, right? She read a lot of the romance comics and because those were real popular. Aaron, you mentioned something about superheroes. The superheroes were very popular during the war. I guess probably for a lot of the reason that they were very patriotic. They were, hey, let's go beat Hitler.
Yeah.
Well, after the war was over, then superheroes lost their popularity in terms of sales, and it was overtaken then by the romance comics and horror.
Westerns.
Westerns. Yeah, I forgot about Westerns. Yeah, all those sold better than superhero comics, after the war and then into the 50s. And it was the horror comics that Frederick Wortham came down on.
It was EC. It was EC and all that. He just slammed down on him. But it was, and of course you see this repeated. I mean, during the 80s, all the parents, you guys listen out loud rock and roll music. So it's not like we're the innocent genre where we've been picked on. I mean, everybody goes through this.
Right.
But I do think that other genres of art fought it a little more than comics. And I'm just going to, maybe a little bit of a criticism towards comics, but like music and stuff fought it a little more, trying to go like, no, not for kids, and this is expression of art. When comics were so cautious, they were like, no, we'll do anything you want as long as you will buy our comics. So I sometimes, and I don't know why we didn't have more rebellious spirit a little bit in comics, but we didn't.
I don't know.
So,
and the point is, we shot ourselves in the foot, and we cultivated a perception that comics were lowbrow.
Right.
And then by calling them a graphic novel or a collected edition or whatever like that, it sounds much more highbrow and acceptable.
Yeah.
Publicly.
And we're bringing that not even to be ironic, but that prestige back that they're talking about. That.
Right.
Well, I read these, so yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I meet them probably because I teach a class, but I meet regularly people who will say, "Oh, I don't read comics, but I read graphic novels."
Yeah, I've actually heard that too, which I just absolutely, that's when I'm just shake their hand and I'm like, you have a good life.
No, that's when you say, that's great. I just happen to have some graphic novels that I wrote.
Yeah, and you can read them.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and it is funny because they'll say it with that I have students that come into my class. It's like, okay, well, this is the comics and graphic novels, and I'll say, tell me, what's your experience reading? Well, I don't read comic books, but I do like graphic novels. I'm like,
Just, I'm
of
like,
course,
look,
you know,
it doesn't matter if you make it. The thickness of the book doesn't make the difference. It's like the thinner the book is not a comic book, thicker the book is not a graphic novel. It doesn't work that way. And I know in perception you think it does.
Are you saying size doesn't matter? It
No,
sounds
but
to
I'm
me
not
like that's what you're
everybody
saying.
But it's true. I mean, it's like it really is like, well, a comic book looks like a magazine, but if it's thicker, it looks like a book. And books, that's more legitimate. And I'm like, and it's funny. I
Does
just
that make it
like,
smarter?
really? I know. Is it like that's
I mean,
it?
seriously, yeah.
That's the common denominator. All right.
It's a matter of discernment.
It is.
So
it's this stuff is always. I mean, strangely enough, it's actually not super. Not it's funny, but it's like it has caused some damage. But I think I still think it's funny that so many people watch like the superhero movies but won't read the comic books. Or if you tell them it's from a comic book, they get this sort of like, yeah, but the movies are so much. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
When you tell people like the Sin City movies from a comic book, they're like, really?
Right.
And I asked somebody who really liked it, did you read the comic book? I don't read comic books. You just
yeah.
watch one in motion. How is this like you're like, I liked what was on the screen, but I won't like if it's printed on a page, even though it's the exact same content. Because unfortunately, Sin City was verbatim the books. Yeah. Literally. I was just I was like, okay.
Wubba said Little Abner was the best Frazetta comic strip ever. And then he said the indie guys, the 70s was full of comic rebels like Robert Crumb and Richard Corbin.
Yeah, they were the undergrounds.
Yeah.
But they were just not didn't make the dent the superhero one just kind of took over.
And also, part of it is about a distribution. They didn't have, because they were the undergrounds and because they did not have that comics code on it, they did not get the distribution. Right. And really that's ultimately that's what the code did, is it determined distribution.
Yeah. Like you basically are not going to get our crumb in a grocery store.
No,
fortunately, it's not going to happen.
Because
not even some bookstores. So
well, and the newsstand distributors back then, they would not accept them without the code on it, which is trivia here. Why Spider-Man is it 99 and 100 or 98, 99, 100, something like that? Which Tommy, hope is he still listening? Which is the one with the drug issues? Y'all remember that drug story?
24, is it?
Is it that late? Okay, 124. There's like 2 or 3 issues that was a drug story, and it did not get the comics code. And when it got rejected, it went back to Stan, and Stan is like, no, we're talking about that drugs are bad, right? Yeah. And they're like, and so I think he went to Jim Galton at the time, who I think was the president at the time, and said, here's what it is. And they just decided to just ship it. Well, Spider-Man, this was, this had already been going on for years. And so they kind of slipped it by them. They're like, oh, Spider-Man. They didn't even look for the comics code, right? And then they said, and then they saw it. And, whoa, wait. You've been shipping issues without the comics code. We can't take these.
Very sneaky.
So there's about 2 or 3 issues there in Spider-Man. And I don't, if it's 124, I'm not sure what issues they are. But it's around that 100 to 120 era, in which those comics do not have the comics code, and that's why they snuck it by them. Yep.
All right, here's a question for you.
Okay.
What makes a children's book, which is basically pictures with a little caption on it, and a graphic novel any different?
It's a good question, especially when a lot of kids' books actually do panel sequential art in the books. There's a lot of kids' books that do that. Basically, do comic book pages in the kids' books.
Or they're just one big splash page with a little caption on it, and then you go to the next one. So why?
That's why I played.
What
played
difference?
With the book. I don't have it with me. I did a book. I think I told Roland.
Yeah, the
60-page book that was like
the
written like a
alien
kid's
photographer.
book. No, this wasn't about a cowboy. It's called Dead
Oh,
Luck, and I don't have it with me. And it was basically a cowboy who fought, like he lost his soul in a game of poker and had to go retrieve it. And then he was attacked by these, like, I like Halloween, so like werewolves or Frankenstein. But I wrote it for more of an adult audience and decided for just an experiment to put it in a kid's book format. Because why not? Why couldn't you do it? And I got really interesting reactions from that. The book's done. I don't have it on me, but next time I can send it. But yeah, I thought about actually just selling it on my conventions again, just for fun. But yeah, because I had that was Jim Valentino. I showed him, and he was the one that he looked at it, and he's like, wouldn't even know how to begin to market this.
yeah.
I don't know how I begin to sell it. He's like, but if I saw it, I would buy it. And that was the best compliment I could have got.
Wow, that is
So,
a great
but it was
compliment. Yeah.
different enough that people were like, and I think it kind of took people back. It's like, yeah, why couldn't you do that? I'm like, yeah, why can't you just switch formats?
Yeah.
And so I gave it a
So
shot, and that got interesting. Yeah.
so Rob Davis said Amazing Spider-Man issues 96, 97, 98, which was May through
Okay.
July of 71, feature a
Oh,
story arc depicting the negative effects of drug use. So if you'll go look on those covers, thank you for that information, Rob. Good to
there
see
we
you.
go.
Those don't have the comics code on them. Wubba
Interesting.
mentions Green Arrow and Speedy story with drugs. I
That's
don't
what
know.
I was thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know if that one. I don't know that story. I mean, I know the comics, but I don't know the story about the publishing of that
Right.
story. So I don't know if they changed anything or they ignored the code or what. I don't know the answer to that. What was the answer? What makes to Barb's question is about the children's is panels and narrative. And then Dempsey says, I believe the story content and the reader level is the difference between children's books and graphic novels.
I think that's a
Pretty
public
blurry
perception,
line.
but I think
I
that could be challenged some a little bit. I
yeah,
mean,
I
especially with
think
the
the idea
advent of
of the panel to panel continuity is really what's going to make the difference because
yeah,
children's books are more spot illustrations, a kind
yeah,
of thing that you would
mine
get
are at least.
in
Yeah,
like a Nancy Drew or a Hardy Boys books, which I used to love as a kid, right? But every chapter or every so many pages there would be an illustration from the book, from the story, and so it was it wasn't panel to panel stuff, but it was an illustration of something that was happening. um, and so I think children's books are more like that in that they're not panel to panel. But I don't
it's
know. I'm
funny.
thinking of some that
Yeah,
that could
there
come
are.
pretty
If you
close to
go,
that.
have you looked at kids' books
Like,
lately? I mean, just do you ever just go in and
yeah.
peek at them or whatever?
My youngest is 20, so not in a couple
Yeah,
of
no.
years. Yeah.
So I mean, me writing a kid's book, I started, well, I'm going to go look at these things
Yeah.
since I'm writing one, and there were a lot of panel to panel. They would do splash pages, and then they would do panel to panel sequences. But here's the trick: they didn't put a border around them.
Yeah. Well,
And so even though it was sequential, it was considered one piece or a collage, not panels, because of lack of border.
so I've got another question for you, and let's probably not dwell here too long.
Yeah.
But so are any of you familiar with Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Mhm.
Yes, I am familiar with that.
Have you read it or skimmed through it at all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like half book,
Okay.
half comic.
Yes, it's
It's
so
interesting.
you can't take Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and there's a really good one that I highly recommend called The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. That's the same way, but it's for an slightly older audience.
Yeah.
But you can't remove the text and just leave the illustrations and understand it. You can't remove the illustrations and just leave the text. So it's not an illustrated book, right? And it's not a full-on graphic novel. What is it?
See, I like hybrids like that. I like
I don't.
people
Well,
who-
I do too. I really enjoyed the Absolutely True Story of a Part-Time Indian is a really good book. But I don't know what it's called, and I don't know that it has a name. It's not that format is not super popular.
right.
Diver and Wimpy Kid was a very popular book, right?
Yeah, they made some movies out of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You did.
yeah. Yeah. Wubba says we should remark on on Dr. Seuss's graphic novels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were absolutely graphic novels to me.
Yeah.
It was a sequential story.
Right. Yeah.
They were all
Uh,
splash pages, but I've seen comics that are all splash
Yeah.
pages.
Oh yeah, what the Death of Superman was all splash pages, right?
And Rob said, Rob, you must have missed the first half of our conversation because he says, why does it need a name? It's comics. We answered the why earlier. Quentin says, wow, awesome. Good to see everyone. What's up, Quentin? Hey, we talked about you earlier, man. Were your ears burning?
It's probably
We
a
talked
smell
about
of
Rob
aging.
too. Yeah, we talked about all the Kickstarter stuff. So, yeah, so yeah, those are. I do encourage you guys to look for that Sherman Alexie book. It's very
Yeah.
good.
And they
It's a
certainly
good
have all
book.
the prestige.
Yes, right. Yeah, no one looks down on Diary of a Wimpy Kid, right?
No.
Yeah, it's sold in like all the major, like Target and all that. They sell all that stuff there.
What? This is funny. Okay, Wubba says most of the image books were all splash pages in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were.
see?
Yeah.
So what makes them any different from Dr. Seuss or the part except for the the TNA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's TNA and Dr. Seuss books. I mean, we know that. You just have to turn the page a certain angle.
Stars upon the R's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pete, does
Ahoy.
does people care? Do people care about the terms comics and graphic novels in England? You get the same kind of thing that we're
Yeah,
talking
I
about
guess
over here.
I guess so. I guess there's the same confusion. Comic books and graphic novels haven't come with a respect that comics don't
Comics
Is
have a
there a
stigma.
for
difference?
people. Yeah.
Is there a difference in England too? Because I know do they consider the European comics that are made? I know there's a different name, there's a French name for them I can't pronounce.
Hmm.
But do they call them graphic novels or do they
Yeah,
call
poop.
them comics?
I don't know. I guess they're graphic novels because
Yeah,
they get released as just one.
one
Yeah.
book.
They're not
Usually one
released
book.
monthly, are they?
Yeah, they're usually one
So-
book. I was just kind of curious. They started calling graphic novels because strangely enough, do they think differently between American comics because of the superheroes and European comics because of certain content?
Well, especially in France, it seems like they have a lot more prestige in
Yeah.
France.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Spain. Sorry, France and Italy. I think they do.
Yeah. So
Have a lot
I'm
of
always curious
respect.
to know over there. Yeah, but I mean, they respect their comics, but when it comes to American superhero comics, do they carry the same respect? And I don't know that answer.
I don't know
Good
that answer.
question.
I would assume it would go from person to person who's into more or whatever. So
Sorry, I can't help you there.
no, and I didn't know if you. I know, anyways. I mean, I didn't think you were an expert. I just didn't know if you'd heard stuff around there.
I don't read any European comics that I'm aware of, unless they
Really?
get unless they get reprinted by an American publisher.
That's
yeah,
interesting.
Because I buy everything through previews.
yeah.
You do? Okay.
Well,
And I know
order
the
from my comic shop,
storytelling.
so-
I mean, I like a lot of the arc in the European comics are fantastic, but I would say this: some of the storytelling is like I don't know what's going on sometimes, and I just
they
for
drop
being
acid
honest,
sometime and just write stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, they look fantastic. I generally get the idea, but there's some I've walked away and like, how was it? I'm like, pretty.
The last few months of my Marvel pulls have been just like that.
Really?
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I'm this is curious, Pete. For a quick question for me. So, as a European, is there a reason that you don't get them, or is it because it's made by the French?
No, I don't know where I would get them, to be honest.
Well,
So it's a
interesting.
distribution issue then.
I'm guessing people who get them know where they get them from. My comic book shop, the one I bought from all my life, has only ever stocked American comics.
I used to get it in my record store.
Your record
Yeah.
store.
Hmm
Wow.
Virgin had some
Oh wow.
There was
Oh yeah, yeah,
import
yeah.
section.
I did stumble into before lockdown or between lockdowns. I stumbled into a comic shop in London, and I was after an issue of Wonder Woman that I'd missed. It was a black label, and I'd missed
Oh
it.
yeah, I'm reading that now called.
It's
Dead
really
Earth.
good. Yeah, Dead Earth.
Yeah.
I've missed number
Yeah,
2.
I like that one.
I'd missed that. So I said to him, "Oh, do you have this Wonder Woman Dead Earth number 2?" And the guy goes, "No, we don't. We've stopped stocking American comics."
Really?
And I looked at him. I That's a weird thing to do.
Yeah, that seemed.
So I walked
Yeah.
out and I spoke to my local comic shop guy, and I said, "Do you not think that's weird?" He said, "No, no." He knew the shop. He said, "No, they're just not been paying their diamond bill." Their payment bill.
Oh,
Oh,
So
yeah.
they can no longer. They can't. It's not that he's chosen not to stock them. They can't get them anymore.
Diamond chose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Diamond said you're cut off.
but they were still selling comics. So I assume they were selling European comics because that's
Yeah.
all they'd be able to get.
Huh.
Interesting.
When do you guys think that that graphic novels really started to garner positive attention? For me, it was when Sandman was put into, Neil Gaiman stuff.
So are you
Well,
saying when was the perception, or when was it for
When
us?
when did the perception start to gain traction that graphic
Yeah.
novels were all that in a bag of chips?
In other words, because I will admit that when they started doing graphic novels, it seemed most of the graphic novels were intentionally non-superhero stories.
And it was
Mhm.
more it was more like art house stuff.
Yes. And I guess you could almost maybe you could blame. I mean, I think this is why Vertigo was made a little bit, so DC can kind of take advantage of that.
And I think Sandman was a huge hit, and
Hit,
that's where it
right.
really took off
Right.
What
in
year
my
was
mind.
Sandman?
Oh God, late 80s? That was mid
Yeah,
80s?
91.
91. Wubba says
Somewhere in there.
the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
make the argument that it was 92.
As far as the
Interesting.
graphic novel, I know I had the individual comic.
Oh, because
Because
It was
I
a
think
critically acclaimed success, and I think it kind of became trendy.
Yeah. It was kind of one of those I think it did legitimize it. And it's strange that I'm the one I tried to get into. Neil Gaiman's a hit or miss for me. He always has been, and I can't. I have my reasons why, but I didn't. So I didn't read Sandman. So I'm trying to think which ones that I read around there that I would consider. Strange enough, I think the one that really considered like comics could be cool or like more unique was that Electra Lives. I remember when I first found that because it was like this big white hardback book that looked like a kid's book. One that's like there was
And it's
it was the
not.
presentation of it that seemed what?
And it's
All right.
not.
I'll
Yeah,
actually say that
It was like,
graphic
wow.
novels actually started to pick up, really start to get looked at as very, very viable was back in like 82, 10 years after what Roland said.
yeah,
Because there was,
Mhm.
because there was actually a bunch of really good graphic novels that were put out around 82, 83,
yeah.
stuff like that.
so so I will answer that, and I think my answer comes in two parts. Because I think because I heard Barb's question to be like for the general populace, and I say
Yes, the people who sit around in a coffee
Yeah.
shop say, "Oh, did you see this?"
right, and I would say 92 because that is the year that Mouse won the Pulitzer Prize, and
Okay, I can see that.
and
Yeah.
if you look, there is a shift in the way libraries and universities ordered books, and it was not until after the Mouse won the Pulitzer Prize. Now, I would argue that, as John says, for us who kind of read them already, it was probably earlier because my first recollection of something that was a really good graphic novel was The Death of Captain Marvel, which was probably what, 82.
82 was a big year for Marvel graphic
Yeah.
novel wise.
Yeah. That's I mean, I remember that one, clearly, bought it and absolutely loved it. I'm like, that's just, of course, I didn't think of it as, I mean, it was a long comic book, but that was when I was like, oh, the term graphic novel to me, it was like, oh, look, this is a little bit different from a comic book.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was talking in terms of the general public when it became
Yeah.
cultural to.
I also think strangely
Yeah.
enough, Watchmen did too. but I don't know if Watchmen did more because of a graphic novel, just because of the subject matter. Because Watchmen again was single issues that collected into a graphic novel.
Well, so and so part of the reason I argue 92 is because it wasn't until after 92 that Watchmen was kind of rebranded as a graphic novel. Because
Yeah.
Watchmen was at least here in the U.S. Watchmen was published episodically in 1986.
Oh, I remember that
Right?
because I remember the first, and
I-
so,
I've
but
got 'em
now
right there.
it's funny because when you look on the top lists of like best novels or whatever, they will put Watchmen on there as
Yeah,
one of the top best novels, even though we would consider it not a graphic novel, but a collection because it does collect it.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dempsey says, I have volume 1 of Sandman by Gaiman, issues 1 through 120, and it's amazing. Wubba says, Dark Horse really made a big helpful push to the graphic novel adult artistic material. So,
Yeah, strange enough, the one I think that really maybe kind of pushed that a little bit would be Concrete. Even though Concrete was done sporadically in Dark Horse Presents, I remember getting that, and I still have the original graphic novel or collected version of Concrete. Now I have no idea if it's just because of Paul Chadwick's art style, which is very sort of kind of elegant, that kind of added this sort of flair of like prestige to the whole thing.
It's more artsy and
it is even the storytelling and the his ideas are yeah, I can see that.
It would appeal to college kids, who want to look like they're cool.
Right.
And I think some comics even kind of push the boundaries. Frank Miller's Sin City, when he released the single issues, which I have all those, they were like a thicker cardstock, a different type of paper, so they seemed a little nicer than regular comic issues, even though they were just regular comic book issues. And so I don't know. So
yeah. Well.
Quiet.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.
Well done talking about that.
It is 10:56, I guess.
Wow. Okay.
Roberta's like, well, already? I've been here an hour.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe
it. Yeah.
We got it farther into it than I suspected, because when you told me what the subject was earlier, I'm like, all right, graphic novels and comic books. I don't know what we would talk about. Okay, 2 hours later.
Well, again, I think it's a fun conversation. I think this is one that I kind of have regularly with my students, and it's the kind of thing that I think, as we make them, right? So it makes sense that we ought to know what they are. But when we're trying to sell them, do we really care what people call them?
Nope.
No.
As long as they buy them.
Right.
Yeah, as long as you read them.
I don't care what you call it as long as you buy it. Right?
That's right.
Comic, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it.
John, you care? You kind of look like you care.
Just buy the book.
What's that?
Just buy the book.
Just buy the book.
Just buy the book.
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you can call it Billy if you want to, as long as you buy the book.
Yeah. Dempsey says, great stream. Tommy said, good show tonight. Kasisi says, have a great night, guys. Thank you, Kasisi. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us. All of you. Wubba says, Grendel Warchild, Burns Next Men, Hellboy, Sin City.
Grendel's a good
Grendel.
one.
Yeah.
And they did, and when they released War Child, they didn't release it as single issues. It was initially the graphic novel.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I know Next Men was a series, though.
It was. Next Men was a series, but then it was collected later into books.
Okay.
But yeah, it was.
I didn't get the collection. I have the individuals. So, well, all right. Does anybody have any final thoughts or final words about comics versus graphic novels? It was fun tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, don't forget we've got a Kickstarter running. We have made goal, so that's good news. Please now go, if you didn't already, pledge with confidence, knowing that we are 9 for 9, fulfilling on time. And it's funny because I saw someone talk about the video the other day. It's it sounds funny that you have to say that, but it's kind of important because there are so many. Yeah, there's so many that aren't fulfilling, and I should say not fulfilling, but certainly not fulfilling on time. But yes, we are 9 for 9, and this one is going to make us 10 for 10. We're chasing some stretch goals, so come help us do that. And Tommy told me to remind everybody that his cover or the cover that he has inked over Pete for Friar Rush is also going to be available. I have not put that up yet, so it is not available yet. I'm going to try to do that tomorrow. So
anything Pete does is amazing. All of our pencilers are amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
no. We heard you the first time, Barb.
I just happen to have inked.
Bye, Aaron.
Click.
I just happen to have inked Pete, so I was into Pete.
Hey, at least you didn't look at you, Aaron, and go, "Well, you need to work on your prestige."
I know. If I actually pencil my pages on nicer paper, then I would start winning compliments from Barb.
Well, we have a pretty good stable of artists, I have to say.
We do.
Very.
That's very exciting. Yeah, we do. So get on over there, check out the Kickstarter. If you've already pledged, thank you very much. Share it around. Get all your friends to go pledge as well. If you haven't pledged, get over there. What are you waiting on? There's all kinds of cool stuff. If you're on a tight budget, as many of us are during these plague days, there's still the digital that you can back and help us out.
I did.
What's that?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Retirement budget.
Yeah, there you go. Share it around. Pete, where can everyone find you online?
On the internet.
How?
What
will they type into the Google to find you?
Obviously.
They will type just a pen. No, they will type.
They'll type in just a pencil.
You've got to get that domain.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Should do. No, but otherwise, just type Peter Clinton Art and go and follow me on the Instagram, where you'll see teasers of certain things.
The Instagram? You mean, is that on the internet?
That's on the internet. The Instagram.
Is your commission list still open?
No,
commission list is currently closed. So
I've got a finished Cassisi's one, so on my desk at the moment.
Okay, cool.
But I've just got too much.
Trumps was on your desk.
I've got Trumps on my desk.
He already finished that, dude. The stream's over. That's done.
He's really cruising through a bruising.
You know what? I'm really admiring the artwork in this Trump's book.
It's a good looking book.
Anthony Pereira.
Pereira,
I think that's really nice. Yeah, Tom knows. I think he's great, but he's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, forget them. Me.
That's right.
Peter Clinton Art. Check me out. Instagram.
Excellent. Aaron, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Where do I hide? Well, I hide in the dark web, and that's where our feed is cut. And no, I'm on the Facebooks with the my name, Aaron Humphreys, or Humphreys Illustration, and the Instagrams with ALH3810, and then webtoons for my Goblins comic, which I will be posting very shortly since I'm finishing up cover 10.
And are you turning that into
And
are you turning that into a graphic novel or a collected edition?
Yeah.
Well, I would hope. Now, this is going to be a graphic novel because it's clocking in at close to 300 pages, so it's going to be really thick. So thickness matters.
An
Remember,
omnibus,
kids, thickness
okay.
matters.
An omnibus, yeah.
It's going to be an omnibus.
100 pages graphic novel, 300 pages omnibus. That's the categorization. It's number of
I thought it was 1,000 pages to be an omnibus.
What?
No, that's a weapon of destruction. You told me that.
Tommy says, thank you, Mr. Pete.
Well, I guess we just proved to everybody that we actually don't know what in the world we're talking about.
John, what about you? You got someone with you tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm waiting to hear back from him. He hasn't messaged me back yet.
All right.
I don't know what's wrong.
Are you going to be on regardless?
Possibly.
Okay. All right. Well, where can folks find you online?
Well, all over the place: Facebook, internet, Twitter. John Martin Art. The Artistic Viking. Find me all over there. You can find me also on that Kickstarter that's running right now.
That's right.
Aaron.
No one here by that name.
I do still have commissions open.
All right, cool.
I got pre-show commissions. Pre-show commissions are open for the SC Comic-Con in Greenville, South Carolina, April 17th and 18th.
No, that's coming up then.
Yeah, that's coming up. So folks need to get to me if they want a commission. And that's it.
Excellent. Barb, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
You can find me under my name, Barbara Kilber, on Instagram, Twitter, DeviantArt, and Facebook.
Cool. And Roberta, what about you? Where can folks find you online?
You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. You look for Roberta Conroy or Roby Conroy if you have a hard time. I have to put the disclaimer in because when I Google it, it doesn't work.
Great. And so Roby is ROBI.
That's right.
Yep.
ROBI.
I think I remember the first time I saw it. I think it might have been Twitter. I can't remember. I'm like, wait, is that Roberta? So yeah, Roby, ROBI. All right. And I am Roland. You can find me on all of the places at Roland Man. I think I'm at Twitter at Man Roland. So just look for, oh man, I keep telling myself I'm going to get my little caricature. Just look for I keep my caricature on most of my profiles. So you can find me pretty easily. And Brett is the unpaid producer behind the scenes here. You can find him at Red Rider NA as he competes in PUBG, but he hasn't streamed here in a while because he said he's been getting distracted. So,
what's her name?
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah,
you beat me to
it. Yep. But we will see you. Oh, don't forget, we got the Wednesday Whammers this coming Wednesday. Don't have the topic in front of me, and then we will be back next Sunday night. And until then, remember to
make
mine
Silverline.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.